The Money School podcast is brought to you by Anchor, where you can create, distribute, and monetize your own podcast for free. You can create on your computer or, like me, on your phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can make money from your own podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome to the Money School podcast. Today is Saturday, August 8th, 2020. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Money Show podcast weekend edition. Go over the winners and losers of the last week and also what we're looking for moving forward. Diving right into winners and losers, the top performing stock in the S&P 500 over the last 5 trading sessions was Mosaic. Their fertilizer company. They reported earnings on Tuesday. I don't know if the unfortunate, terrible situation that happened in Beirut is connected with the stock outperformance, since the quarter was okay, but not, crazy. But they do deal with fertilizer, and they mostly ship in ports and deal with they have a lot of exposure in the region. Again, I'm not an expert in fertilizer. It is the same industry as, what supposedly happened over there. Not sure if that's connected or not, like I said, but either way, they're up this week. The other 2 winners of the S&P 500 were Arconic, which is an aluminum company, and Varian Medical, which is a healthcare equipment provider. Varian's the only one of those 3 that's up over the last 180 days, and it's up 35%. Losers of the week, Evergy, which is an electric utility, ResMed, which is a healthcare equipment provider, and Western Digital, which does a lot of storage and tech hardware. All those are down about 14% over the last 5 days. Of those that are down, the only one that I think is worth even considering looking at is ResMed. Over the last 3 years, they're up 195%, and they're still up 16% over the last 6 months after dropping 14% this week. So strong performance. They had a bit of a sell-off. That might be one to look at and reevaluate. Looking back over the last 6 months and who's performed the best, it's 2 familiar names. It's NVIDIA and AMD. NVIDIA's up 115%, AMD's up 105%. These 2 stocks are just 2 of the best companies in the world. They continue to just dominate the semiconductor space. AMD is really closing the gap. They were kind of the little brother for several years. But over the last 3 years, these are the 2 best companies in the S&P as well. For these weeks in review, we're only going to look at S&P 500 companies. Over the last 3 years, AMD and NVIDIA are the 2 top performing stocks. AMD is up 2,900%. NVIDIA is up 1,150% over the last 3 years. So both those stocks continue to just dominate and print cash and take market share. And those are 2 that if you're not familiar with those companies, those are 2 that you need to look at. NVIDIA has, in my opinion, the best CEO in the entire tech space. Jensen Huang is just a brilliant person, and they have an incredible engineering team at NVIDIA. They have a lot of crossover with Tesla and with the data center and the cloud. And then AMD also is in that space, but they're heavier on the CPU side versus the GPU side. And their CEO is incredibly focused, and they're just destroying Intel. They're just eating their lunch. So those are 2 that you need to keep an eye on. And then the dogs of the S&P are still Norwegian and Carnival. Over the last 6 months, they're still down 70%. So they're having a hard time recovering, and it's going to take some positive news and it's going to take a vaccine for the cruise lines to really recover. Same with the airlines. The airlines are recovering a little bit quicker, but the cruise lines are still in pretty big trouble. Looking ahead at the next couple of trading days, there's not really any interesting earnings to me. This morning, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, they released their earnings on a Saturday, which is interesting. but they released their letter. It's on their website if you want to read about what they're doing. Uh, they had a huge quarter because Apple has been so great, and that's their biggest holding. They also own Amazon, which is their second biggest holding, and that has really saved them. Uh, they've taken a huge loss, double-digit billions in the airline and related airline part space with different subsidiaries. Uh, they have 150 billion plus in cash. They're doing okay. They bought back a lot of stock and they added to their cash pile. So Warren Buffett's not buying stocks yet. He's still buying back a lot of his own company and raising cash, which wasn't in this report, but what's been in the news is he's been buying Bank of America over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He's bought it, 13 days out of 14 or something like that. So he's buying banks, he's out of airlines, and he's relying on tech to kind of get him through to the other side with his other value positions. So that's what's happening with the Oracle. And what I'm looking for this week are a little bit less earnings driven and more. Um, I'm curious what's going to happen with the relationship with the U.S. dollar and gold and tangentially Bitcoin. Um, I haven't been interested in Bitcoin since I sold mine at 18,800. I've been pretty negative on it for the last few years. I think it's actually poised to break out and it could have some room to the upside, um, as the dollar is just in the toilet with the creation of money and gold being so extended that now the silver and gold ratio, gold is pulling silver up with it, and that cross or the ratio between gold and silver is closing, and that seems like that's going to be a trend that's going to continue to go higher. We'll see if Bitcoin stays with that. That's one thing that I'm definitely looking at this week, and I'm curious to see if it can keep the pace with gold as gold rallies through $2,000 and through all-time highs. Not inflation adjusted, but we're working our way there. So that's what I have my eye on, what's going on with the currencies and some of the more macro effects, and then we'll see how the stocks kind of get tossed around in the bigger current of that. But hope everybody had a great week, and I'll check in with you on Monday.